Bell there.
Even though I can't see it, I see she is.
Now setting up webinar. Okay, we're live.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Yeah,
What's up, Francis?
What's going on, Brother White? You know, it's interesting. When I first got into the business in sports, I was talking to several people, including some really influential folks down from the 757, and they said, you know, if you're into sports, you must know a man by the name of Howard White. So I went back and I called my dad. I said, Dad, you ever heard of a man named Howard White? He said, when you get so late to the party, everybody know Howard White. And ran down everything affiliated with Howard White. All the way from high school. He said, it won't be no Bubba Chuck without Howard White. You understand?
See? It's all linked together, Francis.
It's all linked together, man. So I just said, man, this is an awesome platform that Vernon and myself, man, want to do, and just, you know, sharing all these different stories and different, you know, just thoughts about being from the 757 area, man. And, you know, one of the things I want to get started off, H, is that, I mean, obviously everybody knows you, right? But we still trying to, you know, drop seeds in the 757 and young people, just getting them to understand. So can you give us your journey being from that Phoebus, Kecoughtan area, with elementary school you went to, middle school, high school, and that process of coming up? Can you help us understand your journey from the root of the 757?
You know, Francis, for me, yeah, I started over at Robert R. Moten. So, you know, from Robert R. Moten, and that particular time, they were only, so if you went to Moten, then we went to Y.H. Thomas. So most of the people see Y.H. Thomas now as, I guess it's a youth or training center over off LaSalle and where 64 is. But that was a major junior high, which fed into Phoenix, then became Kecoughtan.
All right.
Now, what happened with me was my father left I was probably in the 7th grade. So we really didn't have anywhere to go. We used to live on Pembroke Avenue. Pembroke, probably about 2 blocks away from Mercury. It was a little street called Calhoun. And, you know, we lived right there, right up from the cemetery. And that were all my friends, you know, all the people I grew up with. So when my dad left, we couldn't stay there, had to leave. We really didn't have anywhere to go. And it just so happened, my mother's oldest sister, and all of her sisters we call Sis. So Hattie Richardson. So Sis Hattie, husband had just died, and she lived out on a plot of land on Woodland Road. And right on Woodland Road, where there is a 7-Eleven on the left-hand side now as you go up the street. Right. And we almost were Andrews. That Andrews did not go through there. It did not go straight through there. So she had a little plot of land right there. And if you know anything, they won't know, the people listening won't know, but now your dad would know this. So from there, we would walk out to Pembroke, and you could catch a bus, and that bus then take you and you transfer, and I could get to Y.H. Thomas. On the other side of those woods, because now this was in the woods now, I was living in the middle of the woods. They had a little farm in the middle of the woods. On the other side of the woods, Francis, now Vernon, no, that was all white. That was Fox Hill.
Oh,
Ain't no
yeah.
black people go down there. They say they had a sign down there that said, if you hear when the sun go down, you won't see it come up.
Mm-hmm.
So I still went to YH Thomas. Now, I did not play basketball on any organ. I wasn't no good. Hell, I couldn't play. I wasn't no good. I wasn't no good. That I would even rarely get picked in gym class to play on outside courts. You know, I was not any good that I was gonna play on any structured team. So I was in the band in the 8th grade. Oh, Mr. Nelson, you boy, in the band, played the drums at, a majority black. What I'm talking about, the majority black, a black junior high. That you're gonna go over into a black high school. And one day I was in the 8th grade. A couple of friends, and they were older than me, and they came up from the other side of the woods, called a man who lived right down by Pembroke. His parents had the Mans. They had just built a house down there. Then across the woods a little bit was Gale Street, Terry Prescott. So at that time, which was the beginning of integration, they were going down to Kecoughtan High. So one day they were riding their bicycles down to Kecoughtan, and they stopped by the house and they said, hey, they let you play basketball down at the high school, the new high school. Because again, they ain't no black people live down there and there. This was totally white. White, racist. And mama said, well, you all go, be careful. Make sure you get back here plenty before dark. So we rode our bikes down there to that new school, parked the bikes, walked into the gym. There were no kids, black, white, green, turquoise. There were no kids in that gym. So immediately I'm like, well, we in the wrong place. There were 3 white men down the other end of the court, just shooting around. And as we leaving, this voice says, hey, you boys, you want to play a game? So I'm thinking, actually, Francis, these old people, hell, old white people, I know we can beat them. Now, so hey, we should play them. We go down. Now, little did I know what is not amazing to people today, but whenever I did play ball, where I played, wherever you got the ball, you could shoot it. Now, your father would remember this, friends. You got the ball under the basket, you could shoot the ball under the basket. I mean, these people had constructed rules that said, no, son, you got to take the ball back behind the line when it changed. No, son, you got to take the ball back here when it changed. No, son, you got to. So the whole game was, no, son, you got to take the ball somewhere else. They beat us to death. As I was walking off the court, Francis, I stopped, got some water, and that's when you could drink water out of the water fountain. See, stopped and got some water. This man walks up to me. He says, how you doing, son? My name is Jim Hathaway. I'm the coach at Kecoughtan High School. I said, hi, Howard White. Then he says, have you ever heard of the big O, Oscar Robertson? Yeah, man, that's like asking somebody, you ever heard of Michael Jordan? You ever heard of LeBron James, Kobe Bryant? Of course. Then the man says, if you listen to everything I tell you, you could be just like the big O. He lied, but I wasn't that smart, so I was like, that man lying to me, because I couldn't even play. But I did go home and chop some trees down, and did go find some soda bottles in some ditches, and cashed them in, and I purchased me a basket, a gold, and a ball from Western Auto. I was in the woods, so I just dug me some holes, put those trees in there, got some plywood, put it up, put that basket up. Man, I shot a whole lot of baskets back there. Then I think I followed this girl because Daryl had said, well, my mother wants me to go to a new school. Why don't you go with me? And I'm like, well, what does that even mean? She said, oh, well, if you go with me, you know, we be like going together. I ran home. Mama, I got to go to this new school. I have got to go to this new school, this Benjamin Sims. She said, boy, you gonna go back to the exact same school that your brothers and sisters went to. Good enough for them, be good enough for you. That's the school you'll be going to. I said, oh my goodness. You couldn't tell about the girl, man. I mean, she ain't need, that's too much information.
That's right.
Then my sister comes to my rescue. She says, Mama, you know, school is about education. If the boy wants to go to that school, you should let him go. She said, you children gonna be the death of me yet. All right, so here I am going to this new school. The school was a lot closer to me than going all the way across town on that bus. Benjamin Sims Junior High. Now, Francis, when I get to the junior high, I don't know this. It's not but 3 black kids in the whole school, and won't none of them that girl. Wow. So here I was at this all-white school in this redneck place by myself. A couple of things happened, Francis. I got to play basketball. Hell, I couldn't play on the black teams because I wasn't no good. Yeah. I got to play on this squad because they weren't no good either, so I got to play.
That's right.
And there was a young English teacher by the name of Nancy Newstep, my 9th grade English teacher. Nancy and I today have a book club because Nancy said, you know, you are a great writer. I take your letters and I take your work home and I read them to my mother every night. You are a great writer. She was probably lying, but remember, most of the game is what you choose to believe. Mm-hmm. See, everybody thinking that the game, no. People can tell you anything. It's what you choose to believe that makes you who you become. Nancy told me I was a great writer. Hell, when I grew up, I wrote a book. Believe to achieve, see the invisible and do the impossible. Why? Because Nancy said I was a great writer. I was also, and this is very important, maybe the most constructive words that have ever been said to me, Francis. Now, what happened, Vernon? You know when you're down there, 757-804, we walked by this man one morning, going on Calhoun Street. We walked by Mr. Lee. Now, Mr. Lee had this humongous limp. He like dragged his leg. You see Mr. Lee 50 times a day. So down south, you know, your mama, grandmama, all of them, Francis, I know your dad. Hey, Lee, how you doing today? Hey, Miss Leo, how you? Oh, I'm good. You have a good day, you hear? You too, Lee. You have a great day. And Howard throwing rocks at the stop sign. Hell, you see him 50 times a day. You know, what's the big deal? He walks 0.2 miles an hour. We get by Mr. Lee. She stops me. She said, and you let that be the last time in your life you ever walk by someone and not open your mouth to speak, because even a dog can wag its tail when it passes you on the street. probably the most sage advice that I have ever gotten. And I can't tell you why at 9 or 10, that advice has carried me and stuck with me all of my life. Bonjour, bonsoir, guten tag, aloha, konnichiwa. Hell, I'm speaking to everybody. Francis, because she said, even a dog can wag his tail when it passes you on the street. Now, with that little advice, got to play on that 9th grade team at Sims, because I won't no good. But now, 3 blacks in the whole school, Francis. I was voted the most popular boy in school. In Fox Hill. So you will find out more of your journey has to become how you choose to treat people. And just because people treat you a certain way is no excuse for you not to treat them the way you want to be treated.
That's right.
So, you know, they call me names, they said things to me, but that was never a referendum on those people. The referendum was on me, how I chose to carry myself and behave. Now, what you all know, what they don't know, but Vernon and you know, Francis, there've been a lot of great players that come through that Virginia 757-804. A lot of great players that come through that corridor. That little boy who walked in that gym that day that could not play basketball. And when I say could not play basketball, yeah, I might could jump and run, but I could not play basketball. This man who kind of took me under his wing and believed in me. Now, I became better than all those other folks that were better than me that I couldn't play with. Became an All-American at that school. Now, at that school, Kecoughtan, they're still in Fox Hill. So maybe that's 1-2% at the most people of color, black folk back then. Now, what I did, Vernon, I read, they don't know what this is today, but I read in Scholastic magazine that if you were an officer of your class, you had a much better chance of going to college. There ain't nobody in my family ever been to college. So I went to school. I said, I told my assistant coach, Coach Kilborn, he's passed on. I said, I think I'm gonna run for class office. He said, why? I said, because the book said if you a class officer, you got a better chance at going to college. He said, maybe that's true. He said, what you think you might run for? I said, it didn't say what it had to be. It just said that, you know, class officer. I don't secretary or treasurer. I just would like to go to college. There ain't nobody ever been to college in my family. He said, you know, that's pretty good, Howard. And he said, let me ask you a question. He said, can you tell me who the salutatorian at Kecoughtan is? I thought about it, Francis. I said, no, sir. I don't know. He said, that might be too hard. Let me ask you about the valedictorian, smartest person in the school. Can you tell me who they are? Again, Francis. Whew, I'm beating my brain, Vernon. No, I can't. So obviously that means I can't run for office. I done gone too far. I don't even know these people. I can't run for office. He said, well, hold it. Back up a little bit. Back up. Maybe you're going too fast. He said, I guarantee you they can tell me who you are. I said, no, people don't know me. He said, I guarantee you they do. So why wouldn't you run for president? That way you can tell the secretary and the treasurer what to do. I said, man, that's a brilliant idea. So I ran for president of the senior class
Mm.
and became president of the senior class at a school that it was very few of us of color. Now, when you talk about that court now being a Howard White court, you then see all the obstacles. And there's a lot of folk from that 804-757 that became pros. I tore one knee up my senior year, tore the next knee up my senior year in college. Basketball wasn't fun anymore. So when they named that gym after me, you have to remember, Boo Williams said, H, now you know it's been a lot of great players from this 757. Great players, not just great players. He said, ain't none of them got no courts or football fields or nothing else named after them. I said, boy, I never quite thought about it like that. Now, Bubba, Allen Iverson, AI, they named the gym after him now. Mm-hmm. But that's a long time after them naming that Howard White court and having the Howard White Classic. So it didn't even go to the pros. So maybe your journey has more to do with not what you do, but who you are. And that's the principle that I have always worked on. So my journey, Robert R. Moulton, all Black, Whites Thomas, all Black, then did not go the regular route. Like one of my girlfriends said one time, she said, boy, if you had been at the Black school, you would have been phenomenal. I said, no. She said, oh, no, you were great. You would have been. I said, no, I would have never even played. She said, oh, that's nonsense, Howard. I said, I would have never played. I might have been in the band, beating the drum, but I wasn't going to ever play no basketball because no one had ever seen that skill set in me. Now, you have to, at that time, in the 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, and junior high, if you were decent, you would have played on the junior varsity. Then by the 9th grade, you on the varsity. Then that informs when you go to high school, you start out on the junior varsity, and then you work your way up. So I want to know nothing because I couldn't play. So it won't all of a sudden somebody was going to say, oh yeah, boy, he's going to be great. This man, Coach Hathaway, and we talk about it a lot. What did you see? He said, I don't know. I saw something. I saw something in you. And he said, you know, I've told many of people things. That don't mean they did it. But for whatever reason, you listened, you worked at it, and look where it's taking you.
Yeah. Age, you know, and one of the things Vernon and myself do, we take a lot of pride in our journeys just in life down there in from the 7-5, and you know, it's reliving those lives of those experiences of middle school, elementary school, because if you talk, you and I talked earlier, you know, the foundation of who you are comes from where you began, right? Your experience.
No question.
Okay, so you know, we don't become anything that we are today without having a foundation such as Mr. Lee and others that you mentioned. But talk to us a little bit now after you became an All-American at Kecoughtan and you started getting recruited. Like I'm sure the Marylands, the Hampton University, Hampton Institutes at the time, and all those schools came after you. What came of your recruiting? How did you end up?
You know, in truth, and I think about this a lot because I used to go over to Hampton, over to the Toot a lot and play ball because you could play with all the college guys and that whole thing. And it was just one time that the coach over there at that time said, well, I know you'll never come here, but, it's always open to you if that's what you want to do. And as I thought about that, I always thought this was where I was from. I might have been to every game I played, sitting with my mama, telling her, boy, what would you could be able to see him play. Boy, wouldn't it be great for you just to come see him? We're going to make sure he get an education. But they never did that. He only said that just that one time. And I was recruited all over the country. And so people back then, they offer you things. People offered me cars. I remember this one school, and somebody said you should go out to dinner with him and, talk to him. And I did. We went to dinner, we talked, we go to Williamsburg. And one day, Francis, he pulled out this blueprint. I ain't even hardly know what a blueprint was. He pulled it out. And he said, I'm building this gym. It will be the gym that Howard White built. I mean, hell, I'm 18? This is, man, I'm really? Yeah. He said, now you can get the car of your choice as long as, don't get the big Cadillac, because that just draw attention, but get whatever car you want. I have a home a block away from campus. You can park it right underneath in my garage. I'm like, whoa. He said, then we're going to put $10,000. See, $10,000 today, it might not sound like a lot, but $10,000 in 1969 was more than the mean average income. My mother didn't make $10,000. He said, we're going to put $10,000 at the clothing store there so you can dress and wear all the clothes you want. Then I'm going to pay a newspaper writer $15,000 a year. Every day he wakes up, his only job is going to be to write a story about Howard White. We're going to make sure you make All-American. Okay. Say, then we're going to get your mother one of those big televisions so she can watch all of your games. And if you don't go to the pros, you can be an executive for life at my Fortune 500 company. I mean, for a young kid, that's like, whoa, really? I didn't go to that school, Francis. But he came back and he said, you should have called me because we have gone over the books again and I can double everything that I offered you. Now, a lot of people would say, boy, he had to be crazy not to take that. But remember that little old lady, and she was no more than just a maid. What she had instilled in me. There are certain things in life, Francis, that should never be for sale.
Okay.
Character, integrity, honor. See, those things should never be for sale. And when I got hurt in college, my senior year, all the guys would laugh. They say, man, you had it made. Everything you ever wanted, you would have had it made. Now look, you hurt, you're not going to the pros. Should have took that deal. Now they probably wouldn't say that today, Francis.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah.
So there are things in life that there should never be a question as to who you are. And I know we've reached a world in the days society of, pay me to do this, pay me to do that. We need pay to play. But in back in my world, those things, I just didn't think like that.
Mm.
Senior class president, All-American. I went to that college, the University of Maryland, as they don't or do or don't know. Probably still to the day, the only one in college that just had a single letter on the back of their uniforms, H. Because the man had said, if you listen to everything I tell you, you could be just like the big O. So that was my driving force. So I went to college and I wanted to be H. And I became H. See, 757, you learn this in life. Everybody in life wants something.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. What are you willing to give up or sacrifice to make that happen is a bigger question.
Mm-hmm.
I used to ride my bicycle from down there in the middle of Woodland Road every Sunday. I would ride my bike, regardless of the weather, down to Fort Monroe. And that gym won't no big. That gym was just a little cracker box. But I got to play with all of those old guys from the service and all of the stars from across Newport News and other people would come there every Sunday. And that was back in the time, if you lose, you might not play no more. That was one way of me finding out how good I was. And I just barely had enough money, so when it was all over, I could get me a cherry Coke and a hot dog before I rode my bicycle all the way back home, regardless of the weather. Mm-hmm. When I would be playing, remember I built that little court out there across the drive, the cinder drive. We remember it was in the woods, built the little court. I'd be shooting and it got dark and it was either my subconscious or actual man one night. It's getting dark. I had to go in, Francis. And I said, I'm leaving. And somebody said, it's still light in California. I said, it can't be light in California. It's dark here. He said, I can only tell you the truth, son. It's still light in California. Man, every night, Francis, I had to go out in the dark because the people in California found a way to cheat. See, they didn't say it was a 3-hour time difference. They said it was still light in California. Right. So literally every night, my mama would say, boy, you get in here, you can't see. And I said, well, mama don't know that them California people cheating. So I got to be ready because I ever run into them California people, I got to be ready to play.
Right.
Because somehow they cheating me. I never ran into them, but I remember I was in New York City. This is my junior year, going into my senior year. We went to the Sid Fines All-American Clinic and Camp. Now, Francis, I'd never been to New York, man. You get to New York, you couldn't see the sun. The buildings were so tall. You tried to cross the street, them little yellow cars would almost kill you. You walk in, getting on the elevator, people were so close, you couldn't breathe, scared me to death. We find a way to that gym. And we go in the gym. Man, they dunking off the backboard, spinning in the air, dunking. I mean, this was a scary place. I was like, oh, Lord, we shouldn't be here. what is coach got? There was 3 of us up there. And my coach said that a reporter, man, told him, sitting beside him, he said, yeah, I guess you country boys don't see much like this, do you? And again, I'm scared to death. I'm in the line we going through. I'm just scared to death. And then what you start realizing is fear is actually what you start feeding your mind with. It's not actually often what's happening. It's what you start feeding your mind with. So all of a sudden, I'm making these guys far greater than they probably ever were. And so what I remembered, Francis, I was like, the goal at my high school was the same exact size as these goals. That goal in my backyard that I had measured with that ruler to be 10 feet was the exact same size. I could jump. And then I remembered that I had been getting ready for these California boys forever. And I said, I don't know where they're from, but they'll do. So after I got over the fear of being with these folk, and I walked away as MVP, my coach said, and I guess you city boys don't see much like this, do you? So you learn that often fear is made up in your mind. Not a reality, but in your mind. And so really, I started building myself as to what's possible. And if I have to give up or sacrifice something to make that possible, you realize that it is. And what's the old saying? You can shoot for the stars, and if you miss, you still could land on the moon.
That's right.
So therein probably is the secret to whatever success that I've had. Going into those schools that people didn't look like me, but I never feared that. I remember the day my mother set me on the porch, because we had little rhyme, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch the end by the toe. If he holler, let him go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And she called me up on the porch. I was out with 2 of my girlfriends, Jackie King and at Hilton. We just playing like jump rope, high water, low water or something. And Mama called me up there. She said, what'd you say? I said, nothing. She said, well, what did you say? I said, nothing. And she kept asking me, and I kept saying nothing. She said, well, why don't you sit here for a little bit and think about what you said? And I'll come back. Now, Mama was gone for about 15 minutes. My friends leaving. You coming back? You coming back? So I'm sitting on the porch. Now I'm trying to think of every bad word on the planet that I may have said, and I couldn't come up with. Then she came back. She said, tell me what you said. I said, Mama, I didn't say anything. She said, tell me what the rhyme is. I told her. She said, what does that word mean? I said, Mama, it don't mean nothing. It's a rhyme. She said, no, that's a word that people use to make you think that you are less than them, to make you think that you aren't as good as them, and that you can't do anything that they can. You as good as them and probably better, and you can do anything in the world. I never want to hear you use that again. So when I went to these schools and I would call those names, that actually never bothered me, because I knew these were people speaking from ignorance. They didn't know me. In that school, 3 blacks, voted the most popular boy in school in the 9th grade. In that school, when I went to high school, voted the senior class president. And one of my good friends from that Fox Hill area, Richard Rowden, Richard said one day, he said, Howard, there weren't enough blacks here to put in a telephone booth. And a lot of you won't ever remember what a telephone booth is, but that was the place where Superman went as Clark Kent to change into his cape. He said, there weren't enough blacks here to fit in a phone booth. So the black folk didn't vote you senior class president. We all did. So you are our senior class president. So really, it's how one starts transfixing their mindset. Because all life is a mindset of possibility. So therein, the motins of the world, that foundation, being held back in the 2nd grade, which, now we know that's conspiracy, Vernon, because obviously I'm a genius. So they must have been trying to teach me at an early age how to get over adversity.
Right.
And when I got in the 6th grade at Moton, Mrs. Hall, I was a patrol. See, in a patrol, I don't even know if they have them today, had a shiny silver badge.
Safety patrol.
Yeah, man. You remember that? I polished that badge every night. Mr. Wilson say, Howard, you can let him across the street now. Walk, don't run. I mean, I could take people to the office for chewing gum. I was proud to be a safety patrol. One day, Miss Hall, in 6th grade, she left the classroom. You leave the classroom, everybody starts saying something. One of the guys had said something inappropriate to Leona, and we all laughing. Door opens back up, everybody quiet. And Miss Hall says, what's going on? Nothing. She said, what's going on? Nothing. Then Leona starts crying. Riddick said. She said, Howard. Howard. She didn't say Howard. She said, Howard. Come up here. I didn't, Howard. Come up here. I went up to the front of the classroom. She snatched that patrol belt off of me so fast and said, go sit down. And it took me a while, but I quickly learned that her expectations of me far exceeded what I had of myself. I learned that day that you either part of the problem or you part of the solution to the problem by your actions. Those are the foundations that I had. Miss Gilmore, my junior high teacher, back then, Miss Gilmore, you act up, and she said, Howard, white boy, do you want me to call your mother? Then you quiet as a church mouse then.
Oh boy, yeah.
Nobody wanted that mama call. Nobody wanted that. Especially a black mama.
See, that was a small community where everybody knew everybody now. Parents went to church with the teachers, and the teachers were gods. So, you can't, Lord, no. But those foundations actually gave me the strength to be the person I became. So that's that strong 757 804. That's right. That's that strong foundation that, you know what, we don't play this. We don't play this.
Man.
H, what's interesting about what you're saying is when Carl and I started doing these football camps, and it's amazing, it's been 24 years. One thing we talked about was trying to instill this character, good decision making, and bringing back a bunch of the NFL guys from around the way. And when we have our chat session, to talk to them about the non-football aspects, like off the field type things. And you literally hit on things that we've tried to encourage and try and instill into student athletes from around the way, particularly the point around play the game and use it as a baseline and opportunity for you to further your education. But consider most of you guys are not going to play professional ball. And Mike Tomlin, who comes back every year, he always talks about how he was a failure in his pursuit of his professional career. So he had to do the next best thing from his perspective was to be a coach. And you talked about adversity. How did you transition? Yeah, All-American, you're balling at the University of Maryland. You have this tragic injury. How did you deal with that part of adversity and then shift to what your next thing was going to be in your life and your professional career?
See, Vernon, I think, okay, a part of what helped me was, remember, I didn't even start playing basketball to the 9th grade. So I didn't have this made up vision of being, I'm this great player. So my life was always centered on who I was versus what I was.
Okay.
We found out that the what can be taken away so easily. The who you are, they can never take away from you. And my high school coach said a little bit, then my college coach, Lefty, we were talking, a while back, and he said, if you had not have gotten hurt, you would have been All-American. I said, you think so? He said, there's not a question. If you hadn't gotten hurt, you would have been in the pros. You're the best thing I ever seen before you got hurt. I said, well, maybe it's a blessing that I got hurt, because I know a whole lot of guys that didn't get hurt and went to the pros, and I would not pick their life over mine. So again, I'm fortunate that I listened. In there's two incidents. When I was in college, Dr. Charlotte Leedy, she taught this leadership class, and after one of the classes, Dr. Leedy asked, she said, Howard, would you mind staying? I want to talk to you. So right away, you like, oh Lord, what did I do? I ain't did nothing. And I ain't, oh God, why this woman want to talk to me? So after everybody walked out, and I went in, yes, ma'am. She said, I have only seen 2 people in my life that could command the attention of an entire room. She said, one, he was a movie star, and he doing in the movies, making a lot of money, yada, yada, yada. And she said, the other one is Howard White. I said, what Howard White you talking about? She said, you, Howard White. She said, now, here's the difference. One is from the city, was in Philly. When he speaks, everybody know what he talking about. The other Howard White has this Southern dialect, kind of stumbles through the words. When you talk, I don't know what you talking about half the time. So she wrote this name down. She said, call her and tell her I told you to come see her. It took me a long time to call that number because I'm mad. I don't know what that old white lady, she don't know me. She telling me I don't understand her either. Then eventually I called the number one time and I went to see the woman. It was ask, at, as. how to enunciate and pronunciate the King's English. And when I finally graduated, I remember I went back and took Dr. Leedy to lunch to say thank you. And I found Dr. Leedy right after I had written my book, The Believe to Achieve. I found Dr. Leedy. She was an adjunct professor at the University of Georgia. And I gotten her number from some people at the University of Maryland. I kept calling, didn't get it. So finally one day she answered the phone. She had this raspy voice. And I said, Dr. Leedy? She said, yeah, this is Charlotte. I said, Dr. Leedy? She said, this is Charlotte. Who am I speaking with? I said, Dr. Leedy, this is a voice from your past. She says, this Eddie? I said, no, not that past, Dr. Leedy. You said there were two. She said, Howard White. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, Howard White, I was just telling a group of students about you just the other day. I said, Dr. Leedy, it's been 35 years since you've seen me. You were not. You lying. You weren't telling a group of students about me just the other day. She said, I was. Tell me what you're doing. So I went through what I was doing. By that time, I'd become a VP. I was Nike, boom. She said, I told you so. I said, who are you, an angel? She said, no, simply your teacher. But I could see things in you. Now, I kept in touch with her from then right up until she died. The only thing she ever asked me, she was having the 80th birthday party back in DC. She said, would you come to my 80th birthday party? I said, of course. So me and my wife went. And all of these people kept coming up to me, Francis. You must be Howard. You Howard? I said, yes. She said, Charlotte talked about you all the time. I said, she did? All the time. I said, well, I owe her so much thanks. And we know what they said? You didn't have to listen, but you did. Then there was another teacher, my English teacher. I probably turned the paper in just a little tardy after all the papers had gone up. And I was still holding mine. And then when I turned, she said, keep it. I said, what'd you just say? She said, keep it. You didn't turn it in when I said, so I stayed after class on my own that day. And I said, now tell me, what in your class have I ever done for you to think that I might be wanting to cheat or do something like that? You tell me what that is. And she said, you know what? She took the paper. She said, the crime is that you play basketball because you have no idea what you even have to offer the world because you focus so much on this basketball. And see, as you grow, you never forget those things. Those are things that you take and put in your mindset. Because what we've all found, if you watch that Last Dance with MJ, it's a mindset.
Right.
It's what do you choose to hold yourself accountable to? And if you believe it enough, you can get a whole lot of other people to follow along. So all of these people were the people that made me accountable to myself.
Yeah. You know, and one of the things that I've listened to, well, I've heard in your story is a common thread that we daily try to encourage our young people to do and let them know fascinating things can happen from this, right? And one of the words that I've listened that I keep hearing in your story is one word. You listen to people.
Yes, indeed, Francis. Matter of fact, yeah, and I think, and for a lot of you young people out there now, Vernon Francis know this. Everybody hears.
That's
They
right.
hear what you say.
That's right.
Right.
You have to choose to listen to what's being said. And ever since that man said, if you listen to everything I tell you. And again, if you ain't the smartest person in the room, yeah, I'm like, hey, yeah, well, he just might be crazy, but I'm stupid enough to listen. And we can see the results.
Well, I think it's even more of a challenge, I think, with a lot of the youth, through the foundation of what we've been trying to, in terms of giving back. I mean, this is, I think, everywhere, not just in the 757. There's things just happening in the world today that we're all responding to, and there's just a lot of information that's coming in at social media and all these different platforms, particularly, I think, for our youth, to really that aspect of listening, that skill set to hone it and work on it, and the ability for them to find someone like that trigger point, like who is the person they should be to. There's so much that's coming in now at such an incredible rate of speed for them to be able to differentiate and to try and determine who to listen to and how to listen to. And you mentioned the last chance. I got to be honest, I think we all appreciated being able to see, and at least for a couple of weeks, to really, to slow down our minds and listening and hear and engage in someone who was listening and had their path and something that was driving them in a way that I think some of the characteristics that you talked about, I thought that was a real interesting thing for us to be able to see.
Yeah, I think, Vernon, see, for most of the young people, I hope they listened with a critical ear. And you hit it. So much is flooding their world. And most people want to kind of be in the in crowd. So they want to be a part of all of this. And it just happened to be in a time where, whether it's the rap music, whether it's the cursing, whether it's, cool. But what is going to a critical ear, and because if you fortunate enough to wake up, you're gonna be older a lot longer than you're gonna be young. So what you want out of life, you almost have to place that at such a critical stage. And I always say, have a vision of who you want to be, what you want to be. Mm-hmm. Have a vision, see it crystal clear, Francis.
That's right.
Write it down somewhere, because science said that only 20% of the people have written definite positive goals. Number 3, decide what you're willing to give up or sacrifice to make your dream come true. See, everybody wants something out of life. There's just very few people willing to give up anything to get it. And number 4, just do it. Every day you wake up, be about the business of making those dreams come true. For those who can literally do that, man, right away they separate themselves, Francis.
That's right.
You can run around, be with people, do what you want, but guess what? Their grandmother probably told them, now, if you with the people that's doing something, When the police take them, they ain't gonna just say, you gonna say, oh, I won't doing that. And you go ahead and stay here. No, they taking everybody. That's just the way. And we can all say that's unfair. Yeah, most of life is unfair. If you're looking for equity, then guess what? I remember I was talking to Cynthia Coop, who was one of the greatest WNBA players of all time. And I said, well, how about everything being fair? She said, well, who wants that? Because really, that just said I can't outwork the person that I'm trying to beat. I can't stay up longer than that person that I'm trying to beat. I have to abide by a certain set of rules. Mr. Knight, who is the founder of Nike and the CEO Emeritus, Mr. Knight, we were talking in his conference room one day, and I said, well, he went to Oregon. I said, why did you do that? He said, well, there was a guy that always beat me, and I thought I was better than him. He went to Oregon, so I said, I'm gonna go to Oregon so I can prove I can beat him. Now, he said he watched everything. He watched how he ate. He watched how he got up. He watched how he practiced. He watched everything about him because he knew he was better. I said, well, did you beat him? He said, well, maybe once or twice. He was just better than me. I said, isn't that amazing? I said, tell me what he's doing today. He said, I think he's selling cars or something. Yeah. I said, and here we are sitting here looking out over a lake and all of these buildings called Nike. See, so hard work never gonna go out of style. Now, let me tell you remember those nights being out there trying to get ahead? So when I got to college, Francis, now I know it's a 3-hour time difference, right? But this is the deal, Vernon, what I kept doing. I would get up about 4:35 in the morning and look out across the campus and see that just about all the lights were out in the dorm rooms. And I would start studying. Because in my mind, I'm getting ahead of all those people that sleep. Now, maybe they just went to bed. I don't know. That's not the important part. The important part that in my mind, I was getting ahead of all of those people. And therein is how I've always believed that life can be. Give me an opportunity, Francis, to get up earlier, stay up later, put in more work, to do the little things that most people aren't willing to do. And if you can do that, man, you don't know how far this star will rise.
One of the things I want to ask you is that we hear, you talk to a lot of athletes your whole life. That's what we do in our business. But, you've been able to come across some that are iconic, obviously include him. But what have you noticed in each of them that have made them great? Because we hear a lot of high school athletes say, I want to be great. I want to be this guy. I want to be that guy. But what have you noticed in their characteristics and their behavior that has made them great at what they do, iconic?
Well, they're not a lot of iconic, but let's look at Kobe.
Okay.
Kobe, I remember he was out on campus and he went over to the gym, the Bo Jackson gym. He went over to the gym to work out, and we were the guys with him. Kobe worked out for 2.5 hours. Never touched the basketball, Francis.
Wow.
Never picked up a basketball.
Wow.
2.5 hours. And then I said, "Pooh, Kobe, man, you put it in. I ain't seen this." And you know what he said? You seen MJ, right? MJ does this. I said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Black does that. You're right. But there was this calibration in his mind of what greatness was. I mean, I remember the first time I met Tiger, and it was Tiger, Mr. Knight, Rudy, but his mom, his dad. And I'm sitting there listening. And a lot of this came, his dad, because his dad was a Green Beret. And he would talk about they had to stand in water half the night, holding the gun over their heads. And that same mentality is what he was putting into Tiger. And, I'm listening. When I left that luncheon, first thing I did was I called MJ, I called Michael. And I said, "I just was with you." He said, "H, you ain't never said nothing like that. What you talking about?" I said, "I was just with you. Take away the playing surface. I was just with you." He said, "Who was this?" I said, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods. So, when you see that level, then oftentimes you see, Prime, watching Prime, Bo. I mean, all of these folk. Yeah, the skill level, but it's a lot of folk with a skill level. So MJ athletically was quite amazing. Now, that did not make him the player that he had become. There's a lot of folk with athletic ability. It's the listening. It's the listening to Dean Smith. It's the listening to coaches. It's the listening to his parents. See, MJ was a superstar, and he still went back to finish his degree. Mm-hmm. So you have to take the entire package and put it together to see how somebody transcends how people see the world.
Yeah. Vernon, you got one?
Yeah, I like the way that all the theme and the listening and continue to hammer that home and give these concrete examples of some of the greats athletically. So, H, I mean, you've seen a lot in your life. You've built some amazing relationships. What's the next couple of years look like for you?
Man, I don't know, Vernon. I like this coronavirus thing when they say you can work from home. I kind of like that. I think that as long as I can be a light to somebody, and I did. Mandy has me doing these IG lives, and the last one I did. And as I thought about life, I thought about what does light mean? You can be a firefly. And at home when we were little, they don't know if they do them anymore, but you would catch those fireflies and you put them in a jar and you thought you could light the world up.
We used to call them lightning bugs.
Yeah, that same thing we called them. I went to the name that other people. We're lightning bugs. When we catch them
Right.
lightning bugs. So you can be a lightning bug, and then the more courage and the more humanness you get, and the more understanding, you might get to be a pin light. You know, a pin light that can pierce the darkness. Then, if you really start taking in more information, you might get to be a flashlight. When the flashlight, you can actually shine it and illuminate a path for somebody. Then, if you really, really believe, you might get to be a floodlight. Then one day, if you absolutely, positively believe, you might be a star. And then one day you might be daybreak that eradicates all the darkness. So as long as I can be a lightning bug or pin light or flashlight to somebody, then I'll probably hang on to the game. And I remember it was Mr. Knight, the founder of Nike. And I asked him, how far can a little country boy like me go in your company? And he thought about it for a minute. And he said, you can get all the way to this seat if that's what you want. And I said, I may not want to get there, but I do like the way you think. So let's go back through the story. If you listen to everything I tell you, you could be just like the big O. Fast forward to this man saying, if you wanted, you could get all the way to this seat, if that's what you want. So really, all these people have done is take off the ceiling to possibility. Now, you have to do the work to make it possible.
And well, I think with everything that's going on in the world, where it's, things are in a challenging place socially and otherwise, mindset is still very, very applicable. So I hope, a lot of the young people and the adults, really for that matter, because I think we're all different ways. I think that mindset and that focus, especially the analogy around the light, is something I think we could all use to help sustain us in some ways as we continue to figure out next steps in the world.
Well, Vernon, I think a lot of times what happens, and it's just life, people become reactionary. And we can say things have gone on for far too long. True. But if you don't think that there's been progress made, because if we lose hope that there's progress that has been made, then we lose everything. And let's have a plan to change our communities, to change our system. So because all of these, you can't lose focus and sight of a much bigger picture, because that's the only way you ever get there. And so I've been fortunate enough through others to always see, not through my own being, but through a mother, through that English teacher, through that coach, through those teachers in college, through Mr. Knight, that there are bigger things that you are able to accomplish. Yeah, maybe you got to sacrifice some. Maybe you have to become, because the thing about when I say be a light, what your actual goal is, if you want to change the world, other people have to follow you. See, if you want to change the world, you can be the best goddamn person in the world. That don't mean nobody else gonna follow you.
Mm-hmm.
It just means you gonna be good.
That's right.
Now, once you get people that will follow you, man, you can do some great positive things in the planet.
Yeah. Brother H, you know, been knowing you for a long time. Whenever I'm on a deep thought and I always need one, I always call you. I say, all I got to do is say, give me one. And you just drop a little nugget to get me through the day. And after that, I go on back to work.
Yeah, you do, Francis. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
So, you know, but that's key
Yes,
though,
he
because
does.
all of us need that light that taps
Everybody,
us. That
everybody.
That day. And you have been that light for not only me, but I'm sure a lot of individuals in this world. And brother, it's a pleasure, man, and it's always good to see you. And you know, we catch up on our once a month calls and just laugh a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And but I want to say, man, thank you for your time. Thank you for your great words of wisdom and knowledge for our young people and our listeners. And I appreciate you, man. I love you, man.
Appreciate you, baby. You 757-804, folks. Stay strong, stay positive, and keep moving forward.
Yes, sir.
I'ma stay.
We appreciate you, H.
All right, bro. Y'all be good, man.
Yes, sir. Take care now.
Peace.
Later.